This is Meghan Markle's sickest stunt yet.
I mean, other than looking like a toilet roll, Meghan Markle is contributing absolutely nothing.
The bill that shattered the entire facade. Those receipts were never meant to see daylight. At least, that's what a Paris hotel staffer claimed when Meghan Markle's Fashion Week documents mysteriously leaked into the media.
This woman is really not oppressed. She's opportunistic.
A fortune spent on a penthouse suite, luxury decor, and round-the-clock security, all worth thousands of euros. And the most curious part? It was funded by a mystery figure whose identity Meghan refused to disclose.
Maybe Harry's no use to Meghan anymore. Maybe the divorce rumors are actually true.
Initially, it seemed like just another flashy celebrity bill, a typical tabloid story tied to a stylish getaway. But as journalists kept digging, the entire situation started to look far more unusual.
Harry just can't give her anything else anymore. He's served his purpose. His purpose is over.
Balenciaga, the very label Meghan was rumored to be working with, publicly refuted any involvement. Her PR team vanished into silence, and the leaked documents pointed to a completely different source. A name, a corporation, and a money trail that led far beyond Paris, straight into the shadows of Hollywood's upper circle.
Meghan Markle is always attempting to, shall we say, build relationships with very rich men.
Sources say the real story left Meghan in tears, while Prince Harry was caught off guard, furious and betrayed. Yet beneath all the chaos lies a much bigger question, one that could permanently reshape her public identity. If Meghan wasn't the one who financed that extravagant suite, then who did? And what would drive someone to put their own reputation on the line just to keep her glowing at Paris Fashion Week? Because those invoices, every expense, every approval, every signed page might expose far more than a hidden benefactor. They could reveal just how deep the illusion truly ran and the price she paid to keep it alive. And when that truth finally surfaced, it didn't just end a glamorous weekend, it triggered a scandal that exploded out of nowhere, one nobody was prepared to face.
Wow, let's make a new Netflix series and story out of Harry's demise. Ooh.
Paris, early October 2025. Paparazzi lights burst across Avenue Montaigne as Meghan Markle stepped out of a sleek black SUV, wrapped in custom couture, poise, and a sense of triumph. This was meant to be her grand return, a flawless Fashion Week re-entry crafted to project elegance, revival, and absolute control. But while the cameras captured perfection, a very different chapter was already unfolding out of sight. That same week, inside the Plaza Athénée, the luxury hotel where Meghan was staying, a quiet exchange of files was underway. A hotel accountant, cornered by growing media rumors, slipped scanned billing records to a French entertainment reporter. Within hours, hushed speculation turned into undeniable evidence. Those receipts didn't just show charges, they revealed contradictions. One reservation appeared under a major fashion house, another under an obscure Los Angeles company nobody could identify. The timelines clashed, the approval codes didn't match, and when investigators contacted Balenciaga, the reply came without hesitation: "We did not sponsor her stay." By nightfall, French outlets began posting blurred screenshots, and the scandal detonated across tabloids and social media. Every expense, from the penthouse bill to the $3,200 stylist fee, pieced together a story Meghan's team couldn't spin, dodge, or justify.
During her Paris Fashion Week appearance, which was another desperate and craven attempt to grab the limelight while William was getting some good publicity.
For the first time since stepping away from the royal family, Meghan found herself trapped in a story she couldn't steer. As headlines multiplied by the hour, so did the unanswered questions. Who funded the trip? Who authorized the payments? And who exposed the truth that turned Paris Fashion Week into a PR wildfire? The answers weren't on the runways or in the flashing lights. They were buried in paperwork, tucked behind a single name on the final hotel invoice. And that discovery was only the opening chapter. In the weeks before Fashion Week, Meghan's comeback was crafted with precision. Her team engineered the narrative of empowerment. The Duchess transformed into a global style icon, reclaiming her voice after months of calculated silence. Every moment was scripted. Staged photo ops, a controlled guest list, a carefully curated wardrobe, and private security trained to melt into the background. Her check-in at the Plaza Athénée was more than a hotel booking. It was a declaration. Fashion writers praised her as regal yet renewed. PR teams fed the media elegant buzzwords like modern grace and humanitarian glamour. And for a brief moment, the facade worked. Even her loudest critics admitted she had perfected the art of reinvention. Social media turned her appearance into a redemption spectacle. Influencers reposted her outfits, tabloids cheered her return, and entertainment sites insisted her rumored Balenciaga connection proved she was officially back inside fashion's most exclusive circle. Meanwhile, the machinery behind her image ran at full speed. Hotel employees were locked behind NDAs, photographers were ordered to capture only flattering shots, and any talk of money, sponsorships, or contracts was strictly forbidden. To the public, the Paris trip seemed effortless, a modern fairy tale painted in couture gold. But inside the fashion world, a different reaction simmered. A few editors whispered that no major brand had ever confirmed hosting her. Some noticed irregularities in the press notes. One stylist even recalled that Meghan's representatives spoke with the authority of a luxury house, but signed paperwork like independent contractors. Still, the show continued until a single hotel document surfaced and cracked the illusion. One booking entry on that invoice didn't align with the narrative she had built, and from that point on, everything began to fall apart.
She is so odious, it's beyond belief.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous. These are two real imposters.
It started in silence. Just an email sent anonymously to a European reporter. Attached was a file of scanned hotel invoices, each stamped with digital time logs and charges from Meghan's stay. At first glance, everything appeared routine. But a closer look revealed something far more troubling. The guest details didn't match the arrangements her team had publicly announced. The payment section pointed to an unknown third party, not her foundation, not her media office. Page by page, the paperwork contradicted the polished narrative she had sold to the world. Expenses for private drivers, couture fittings, and late-night room service bore initials that didn't match anyone on her staff. Then came the handwritten note, confirmed by sponsor. That single line was the spark that set everything ablaze. Within hours, commentators worldwide began connecting the dots, matching dates, photos, and receipts. Investigators and bloggers broke down the invoices like forensic evidence, circling discrepancies and highlighting names as if analyzing a crime scene. What had once looked like effortless luxury suddenly seemed orchestrated and secretly financed. And through it all, Meghan's team said nothing. The same PR machine that once issued statements at every rumor went silent overnight. Her publicist's number was temporarily unavailable. Scheduled appearances were canceled with no explanation. That vacuum left only one question echoing online. Who really paid for the Paris fantasy? With the question came a tidal wave of speculation. Shadow sponsors, hidden backers, whispered debts and favors no one wanted to mention on record. The invoices, once mundane paperwork, now read like evidence in an unfolding scandal. And just when it seemed the drama had reached its peak, a new name surfaced. A name that changed the story entirely.
People like Meghan will always stay with the man if there's no better option. I know that they have troubles in the marriage. I understand from now 6 separate reliable sources that Harry called in lawyers.
The invoices revealed nothing more than a pair of cryptic initials, insignificant at first glance. But behind those letters was a connection powerful enough to rattle Meghan's entire inner circle. Reporters followed the trail through layers of digital signatures, shell companies, and offshore payment channels, until one pattern emerged. The same encrypted authorization linked to past media ventures financed by a wealthy Los Angeles figure, a man who once shared Meghan's social orbit long before the royal era ever began. Privately, he was referred to as Mr. X. His role was neither public nor official, yet fragments of correspondence suggested he had arranged the payments himself, funneled through a corporate account to bury any trace of personal involvement. And with that discovery came a deeper question. Why? What would compel him to bankroll her Paris stay? Was it loyalty, quiet obligation, or a debt owed from an old chapter no one talks about anymore? The revelation hit Meghan's camp immediately. Within hours, urgent messages flew between staff. One insider described the mood when the first article hinted at Mr. X's name. A room full of people, but no one speaking. Sources claimed Meghan was shaken to her core, pacing, in tears, desperate to discover who had exposed the link she believed was hidden. Inside royal circles, the revelation hit like a sudden crack of thunder. Those close to Harry said he felt blindsided, certain the trip had been legitimate and fully approved. But in an instant, doubt turned to certainty. Trust gave way to suspicion. Every joint decision, every public appearance, now looked different through the lens of betrayal. What began as a glittering weekend in Paris had spiraled into a personal war zone, fueled by invoices, whispers, and secrets treated like high-value trade. And with that discovery came a deeper question. Why? What would compel him to bankroll her Paris stay? Was it loyalty, quiet obligation, or a debt owed from an old chapter no one talks about anymore? The revelation hit Meghan's camp immediately. Within hours, urgent messages flew between staff. One insider described the mood when the first article hinted at Mr. X's name. A room full of people, but no one speaking.
She will find a way to bounce past him to some other taker who might actually just love the guy. She will take her royal kids, who can still go by prince and princess, and find the billionaire.
Within hours, old press releases began disappearing from archives. Syndicated interviews were quietly removed, and glossy promotional photos vanished from fashion sites. Observers noticed how fast the cleanup was happening, as if the internet itself had become a giant eraser. But behind the scenes, the atmosphere was spiraling. Insiders described panicked calls, crisis meetings, and midnight strategy sessions with PR tacticians. Every response was rehearsed in war room fashion: deny, explain, or say nothing. Yet each choice came with consequences. Silence looked like guilt, denial invited scrutiny, and clarity risked blowing everything open. The truth was already moving faster than the damage control. In the public eye, the once adored couple suddenly appeared fractured. Cameras caught stiff smiles where laughter used to be. Forced poses replaced familiar warmth. Anonymous insiders claimed Harry learned about the Mr. X revelations from the media, not from Meghan herself. A wound, they said, far more painful than any headline. Meanwhile, in elite circles, support began to evaporate. Invitations quietly stopped. Projects were delayed. Collaborations were under review. No one wanted their name anywhere near the fallout. What had once been intrigue was now exhaustion, a reminder that once a reputation is stained, it rarely returns to its original glow. And for Meghan, the emotional cost hit immediately.
Reports spoke of private breakdowns, quiet tears, panic, and a crushing realization that the image she had fought to rebuild might have crumbled in a single night. Friends advised her to step back, to disappear from the spotlight until the flames died down. But it no longer mattered. The world had already seized the narrative and was scripting her future without her voice. What began as a Paris fantasy had become an international spectacle, its aftershocks tearing into her career, her marriage, and even her sense of self. But through all the noise, one question refused to fade. Was this just a scandal, or a symptom of something far deeper? Scandals rise and fall, but patterns leave a trail. And as the days passed, analysts began to detect a larger story hidden beneath the invoices and headlines. This was no longer about hotel suites or secret sponsors. It was about a familiar cycle, a rhythm of reinvention where conflict dressed itself in couture, and every fresh beginning carried a buried flaw. Observers pointed to a repeating arc in Meghan's public chapters: a dazzling entrance, a wave of admiration, followed by an unexpected collapse. The locations changed, the allies changed, the causes changed, but the ending rarely did. And now with the Paris illusion exposed, that pattern was impossible to ignore. Voices that once defended her began to falter. Commentators questioned how so many discrepancies could exist within one perfectly managed story. Was she simply unlucky? Was the media twisting reality? Or was there something intentional at work? A carefully crafted narrative designed to win sympathy and redirect blame whenever the facade fractured.
You could see her walking openly in crowds, which is just hilarious considering that Harry comes here every month or so, demanding that the taxpayer pays for his security because he claims that him and the children and Meghan don't feel safe.
Critics called it calculation. Admirers called it survival. Some insiders claimed that every step, every outfit, every public moment was designed to trigger both praise and controversy, a duality that kept her permanently in the spotlight. Others argued she was simply a victim of relentless misfortune, a woman punished again and again for daring to take control of her own story in a world that despised her independence. But emotion could only go so far. The pattern was louder than the opinions. Each scandal mirrored the last. Headlines, hashtags, outrage, collapse. A cycle looping like a familiar refrain. The Paris leak wasn't an isolated slip-up. It was another beat in the same rhythm. Control, exposure, retreat, return. Even her quiet moments had choreography. Vanish, reemerge, reset, again and again. Every silence felt scripted, every comeback precisely timed. And as experts argued over whether she was reckless or orchestrated, one chilling theory surfaced. What if this wasn't chaos, but choreography? In the theater of modern celebrity, true accidents don't repeat themselves, which meant the question was no longer who funded Paris, but how much more truth is she willing to sacrifice to maintain the illusion? By the time the outrage settled, the damage was irreversible. What began as a glamorous weekend had transformed into a harsh reflection, one that exposed more than a scandal. It revealed the machinery behind the persona, the construction of image, the cost of narrative control, and the uncomfortable truth about the fusion of royalty and fame. Those once confident photos from Paris now felt different. Not triumphant, but delicate, almost haunted. Every smile now seemed heavier, shadowed by everything that followed. The restless nights, the tense whispers behind closed doors, and the growing silence between two people who once swore it was them against the world. The real pain wasn't only losing control, it was realizing the narrative had slipped away, no longer hers to shape. Paris stopped being just another scandal. It became a symbol, proof that in the kingdom of public image, every decision comes with a price tag, and eventually, every illusion demands payment in truth. Maybe time will erase the memory. Maybe it won't. But the questions didn't vanish. They lingered, unfinished and unsettling. Who leaked the receipts? Why would someone bankroll her return only to burn her reputation afterward? And if every version of her story keeps collapsing, then what is actually holding her world together? Perhaps the official explanation is real, or perhaps it's just another performance. What is clear is this: each headline, each denial, each photo tells a part of a larger design, one that blurs the boundary between reinvention and manipulation. So the real question is, what else has been hidden? If you want to trace this pattern to its source, watch our last investigation. Meghan's mother reveals the untold truth about Archie and Lilibet. The deeper you go, the more the puzzle pieces connect, far beyond what anyone expected. You're watching Star Spotlight, where the truth lives in the shadows between the headlines.